kids, and a growing family. But life seems empty. Something's missing. Only God can bring real meaning to life. True happiness comes from knowing Him. Discover how God can change your life. Watch The 700 Club.
Time for your email questions. Pat, this first one is from Fredna, who says, Pat, in 1997, I was married. My husband and I divorced, and I remarried. Since then, I divorced my second husband and reconciled with my first husband. In God's eyes, am I sinning? Wow.
You know, if you go back to the Bible, we're told that if a man divorces his wife, he can't go back to her again because it, quote, humbles her. But you thought it was a good deal. You liked being married to the first husband, and somehow there was a divorce, but you got back together again. And, hey, I think it's okay. I think you say, am I sinning? Well, I don't know what the reason for the second divorce was, but there needs to be some ground. But assuming you have biblical grounds, I would enjoy your life, okay?
Okay, this is a viewer who says, I'm battling with depression and anxiety. I've prayed and declared scripture over it, but it won't go away. How do I know if this is a mental illness that requires medication or if it's an attack of the enemy and I just need to see a Christian counselor?
I think what you may need is a medical doctor. I tell you, depression many times has a medical cause, and you may need some antidepressant medicine to help it. I don't know for sure whether it's some, but I would ask yourself in your life, are you sinning against God? Are you rebelling against God? Is there something you've done that's wrong? And if it is, if that's weighing on your heart, well, confess that and put it away. But, and that may alleviate some of your problems. But it may be that you have a clinical problem, and it's chemical, and you need a little help in that depression. And I wouldn't feel ashamed to get it, okay?
Sharon wants to know, how does she make a real change? She doesn't like anything that's happening. She says, when I vote, everything I vote for fails. Everything I want for our country, which is a biblical return to God, has failed. It looks like the cup of God's wrath must be filled, and His timing for the end is here. What resistance can I have if this is God's will?
I think you're reading too much into it. I think what you need to do is serve the Lord and know that your light will shine, and do what you can to let people know what your point of view is. And then get out and work. Work, knock on doors, and make telephone calls, and get involved in party politics, and do something. Well, thank you so much for those questions. I think that's all the time we've got. And for Terry and all of us, this is Pat Robertson, and Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
A 1,200-pound horse. That's what came crashing down on Roger Cheshire, and it broke his pelvis in half. What was the one mistake Roger made that almost cost him his life, and how did it lead to an astonishing miracle? Take a look.
He's my little brother. I couldn't stand to see him like that, and I would have done anything, and Sarah would have too, to at least get him out of that excruciating pain he was in.
Greg Cheshire and his brother Roger grew up in El Dorado, Arkansas, where Roger developed a love of horses. He trained and rode in competitions and rodeos. In June of 2010, his daughter's horse was acting strange. Roger hopped on to see why.
When I got on the horse, I just grabbed the saddle horn, threw myself up on the horse when my daughter got off. And I did not let the stirrups down. And that one decision like to cost me my life.
The horse reared up and then collapsed on top of Roger. His wife, Sarah, remembers the moment.
I just remember hearing him holler real loud, and I turned around and he was on the ground.
My legs just spread out like this, and this 1,200-pound horse comes down on my right leg. Didn't break my leg, didn't break my back, but it broke me in half.
He was hollering, and it was bad.
Roger was airlifted to a trauma center in Little Rock, Arkansas, where surgeons bolted his pelvis back together.
His pelvis was broke like an open break. They showed an x-ray of where they had him bolted together. I thought, it would have to be an absolute miracle of God. Humanly speaking, I see no way he can ever walk again.
Roger was paralyzed. After his surgery, he became septic, and his hope for recovery dwindled.
He had been at that hospital so long, thinking he's gonna get better, and then he had the sepsis and that went backward. He could barely talk, and he said, I ain't got no fight left.